In 2006, the idea of expanding the Panama Canal was presented and debated upon. Yet it wasn't until 2007 that the expansion began and a team of engineers started to begin construction. Because the project entailed extending the canal into the ground surrounding the route, precautions needed to be made involving the effects the expansion would have on the surrounding ecosystems and cities. The overall goal of the expansion was to deepen and widen the canal's major waterway and to add an additional third lane. Some of the biggest worries were from the states along the southern coast of the U.S. because the expansion extended that far north. One river that has presented concerns is the St. Johns River, located in Florida. The goal around Florida is to deepen the waterways in order to allow bigger cargo ships to sail down into the Panama Canal. Deepening the waterway from 40 feet to 47 feet would mean allowing salt to enter the freshwater river, thus increasing its salinity. An increase in salinity would ruin the wetland and coral reefs located along the riverbanks. In addition, it would push animals such as dolphins and shrimp out of their habitats and force them to find a new place to live. Not only would the deepening of the waterway affect ecosystems near the river, it would also affect its local cities. By deepening the river, the water would cover its aquifer, which is a body of permeable rocks that distributes groundwater, thus endangering the locals' water supply. Water supply is a huge concern with the overall project of expanding the canal. Before the expansion, each time a ship passed, it distributed 52 million gallons of fresh water. Because large quantities of fresh water are being distributed, the people of Panama are losing water at a surprisingly quick rate, which is raising more concern. Since bigger ships will be able to come through the canal, more water will be distributed, thus making people concerned that at the rate they are losing water, they will one day only have unclean water. In order to attack this problem, the engineers constructing the canal decided to deepen the main water source, Lake Guatan, while the new locks will use separate water basins to recycle water. This tactic would reduce the amount of water loss, thus making more fresh water become available to the locals. On the other hand, the Army Corps in 2013 submitted a report stating the project will, quote, contain significant mitigation to compensate for the impacts to ecological resources, unquote. Yet from that report, multiple contradicting sides were presented. The National Marine Fisheries Service stated that the Army Corps estimated it would only take 50 years to restore possible damages to coral reefs, when in reality it would take 160 years. These contradicting claims made it more difficult to analyze to what extent the engineers needed to protect ecosystems, yet the project continued to proceed. Another example of a concern was yet another expansion of a waterway located in Florida called the Biscayne Bay. The construction of deepening the bay threw up red flags with the Biscayne Bay waterkeepers, who were concerned about the habitats being destroyed and potentially harmed. They were mainly worried about the sediment that would enter the bay as they were dredging. The sediment, although naked to the human eye, makes it hard for the fish to navigate in the water. The Biscayne Bay waterkeepers filed suit against the corporation funding the project, and in the end, the corporation agreed to set aside $1.3 million in restoration projects and maintaining the habitats in the bay. The corporation set aside times in which the engineers could not blast the rocks on the bottom of the ocean. These times were when the ecosystem was most active, which is mainly during sunset and sunrise. In the month of June 2016, the Panama Canal Extension was officially opened. The $5 billion project took around 10 years to complete, with over 40,000 men and women taking part in its construction. Although the expansion of the Panama Canal will further economic development around global trade, its possible effects on the ecosystem around the expansion needed to be taken into consideration.